Two sperm whales are trading clicks in complete darkness, thousands of feet down, 4 seconds apart, like two people finishing each other's sentences without missing a beat. For most of the last century, that exchange would have looked like meaningless noise. Today, a small research community thinks it might be looking at something built out of parts nobody thought to look for. Here's a question worth sitting with for a second. What would it actually take to prove an animal has something like language, not just sounds that mean something, but a system built out of reusable building blocks? Humans have an answer for our own species. Every language on Earth, from Mandarin to Nahuatl, is built the same way underneath. A small set of basic sounds, phonemes, combine into syllables, syllables combine into words, and words combine into an essentially unlimited number of sentences. Linguists call that trick duality of patterning. Small meaningless sounds combine into meaningful words, and those words combine again into an open-ended set of messages, which is why humans can talk about literally anything using the same small toolkit of sounds. For a long time, the assumption was that nothing else in nature works this way. Animal calls looked more like a fixed playlist. A warning bark means danger. A mating call means available. Useful but closed. No new combinations, no open-ended vocabulary. That assumption has been getting picked apart for decades, one species at a time, and some of the earliest cracks in it came from a very unlikely messenger: honeybees. In the 1940s, the biologist Carl von Frisch figured out that a returning forager bee performs a little dance on the honeycomb, and that dance encodes the direction and distance to a food source relative to the sun. Other bees watch it, then fly straight there. That was a genuinely combinatorial signal. The angle of the dance encodes direction. The duration encodes distance. Change either variable and the message changes, continuously, not by picking from a short list. It took years for that discovery to be taken seriously. Since then, the list of animals with unexpectedly structured communication has kept growing. Certain songbirds rearrange short syllables into different sequences that appear to change meaning. Even so, most of these systems still work with a fairly small, fixed inventory. Dolphins push this even further. Bottlenose dolphins develop their own unique signature whistle early in life, something close to a name, and other dolphins will copy that whistle specifically to get that individual's attention, essentially calling them by name across open water. Which brings us to the ocean, and specifically to the largest predator with teeth that has ever lived on Earth: the sperm whale. Sperm whales are strange animals, even by whale standards. An adult male can weigh over 50 tons and dive thousands of feet down, chasing squid in total darkness for up to 2 hours at a time on a single breath. They also carry the largest brain of any animal known to science, close to 8 times heavier than a human brain. They are famous in part because of fiction. Herman Melville built an entire novel around one. And for most of the 19th century, sperm whales were hunted specifically for the oil inside that huge head, the same organ that turns out to be central to how they talk. Commercial whaling pushed sperm whale numbers down dramatically before international protections finally kicked in during the 1980s. They are still listed as vulnerable today, which makes documenting how they actually communicate, before we lose the chance to understand it, feel a little more urgent. That organ inside the head is called the spermaceti organ, a waxy structure that works like a built-in sound cannon, focusing air pulses into some of the loudest sounds made by any animal on the planet, loud enough to be used for echolocation on squid hundreds of meters below. But sperm whales don't just click to hunt. They also click socially, in short bursts called codas, and this is where things get interesting. Codas are how sperm whales seem to carry on conversations. Sperm whales live in tight matrilineal family units, mothers, daughters, and their calves, that stay together for life while the adult males roam alone between groups. Several family units that share a similar coda repertoire form a larger social structure researchers call a clan. And different clans off the same coastline can have almost no overlap in which codas they use, a bit like regional dialects. How much can actually be packed into just a few clicks from a sperm whale? For decades, the honest answer was not much. Researchers manually sorted recorded codas into a fixed catalog, currently sitting at around 21 distinct types worldwide, defined by the spacing between clicks. That was basically it, treated as close to the whole vocabulary. Which, if you think about it for a second, is a strange place to land. Sperm whales live in complex, cooperative societies. They babysit each other's calves, coordinate group defense against orcas, and pass down clan-specific behavior across generations. All classic signs of the kind of social complexity that, in other species, usually comes paired with more expressive communication, not less. That mismatch is exactly what pulled a research collaboration together starting in 2020, bringing together marine biologists who had spent years on small boats off Dominica recording these families, and machine learning researchers from MIT who specialize in exactly the kind of pattern finding this puzzle needed. The project goes by the name SETI, the Cetacean Translation Initiative, and its long-term, admittedly ambitious goal is to understand sperm whale communication well enough to eventually attempt some kind of two-way interaction. This particular study was a much more grounded first step. Before anyone can talk about translating anything, you first have to figure out what the actual building blocks of the signal even are. The data came from the Dominica Sperm Whale Project, which has been following the same extended sperm whale family, known as the Eastern Caribbean Clan, since 2005. Around 400 individuals belong to this clan, and the recordings used in the new analysis span 2005 to 2018, gathered with towed hydrophones, and in later years, suction cup tags stuck directly onto the whales' backs that record sound along with their movement. One of those tags is basically a whale's own microphone, riding along as it dives, surfaces, and talks to whoever is nearby. Combined with the towed recordings, it gave the team 8,719 individual codas to work with, by far the largest structurally annotated set of sperm whale calls ever assembled. To make sense of that much data, the team leaned on statistical tests built for exactly this kind of question, comparing what patterns showed up between neighboring codas against what you would expect if the timing were purely random chance. Instead of starting with the old 21-type catalog and trying to force the data into it, the researchers built something new, a way of visualizing every click in an exchange on a single plot, time against time, so that fine details invisible to the naked ear suddenly become visible on a screen. And once you can actually see the clicks laid out like that, the 21 clean categories stop looking so clean. Codas that were supposedly the exact same type turn out to differ from each other in small, consistent, non-random ways every single time. That extra variation was either meaningless noise, the vocal equivalent of static, or it was doing something the old 21-type catalog had never captured. So what did looking at the fine structure of nearly 9,000 whale clicks actually reveal? The first thing the team found is that codas are not fixed once a whale starts producing one. When two whales trade codas back and forth, each one gradually stretches or shrinks the duration of its clicks from one call to the next, and its partner tracks that change almost in real time. The researchers named this effect rubato, borrowing the term from music for a deliberate, expressive stretching of tempo. It is not random drift. The average duration gap between two neighboring codas of the same type was 0.05 seconds compared with 0.08 seconds you would expect if the variation had nothing to do with context. When two whales click at exactly the same time, their durations line up even more tightly, 0.099 seconds apart on average against an expected 0.129 seconds. The second discovery is a feature the team called ornamentation, an extra click tacked onto the end of a coda that otherwise matches its neighbors perfectly. About 4% of the codas in the dataset carried one of these extra clicks, and they were not scattered randomly. They clustered at the start and end of a whale's run of calls, and right before a shift in how a group was interacting, one whale dropping out, another joining in, a pause in the exchange. On top of rubato and ornamentation, the team found that the codas themselves break down into smaller, reusable parts. 18 distinct rhythm patterns, 5 distinct duration classes, And instead of only appearing in a handful of fixed combinations, these features mix and match freely, producing at least 143 distinguishable combinations in the recordings the team analyzed alone. Put all of that together and the old estimate of the system's capacity, a simple list of 21 types, roughly doubles. The researchers mapped the whole thing onto what they call a sperm whale phonetic alphabet, a deliberate echo of the international phonetic alphabet linguists used to chart the building blocks of human speech sounds. In that comparison, rhythm, tempo, rubato, and ornamentation play a role similar to the handful of features, place of articulation, voicing, manner, that combine to produce every consonant and vowel in every human language. Not the same system, not necessarily the same purpose, but structurally a strikingly similar trick. Here is the part worth being careful about. None of this proves the whales are exchanging anything like sentences or words with a fixed meaning. The study is explicit about that limitation. There were no playback experiments here confirming what any of these features actually communicate to another whale. What the data shows is structure, a system with far more moving parts than anyone had documented, not proof of what, if anything, that structure means. The researchers are careful to frame this as a foundation, not a translation. Before anyone can respond meaningfully, you first have to know what the actual alphabet looks like. This study is the first serious attempt to write that alphabet down for an animal whose brain has been sitting at the bottom of the ocean, clicking away, for longer than our own species has existed. This research was published in Nature Communications in 2024, led by Pratyusha Sharma and Shane Gero, alongside Roger Payne, David Gruber, Daniela Rus, Antonio Torralba, and Jacob Andreas, under the title Contextual and Combinatorial Structure in Sperm Whale Vocalisations.